Star Wars Battlefront Classic is a first-person, third-person shooter developed by Pandemic Studios and released in 2004. If this was your childhood game, go ahead and add it to your game library again. It seems to be running smooth all these years later. However, if you're looking to play an old Star Wars first-person shooter, might I suggest getting Star Wars Battlefront 2 Classic, which is very similar but just with way more stuff in it. Both games are totally worth picking up if you're interested though. Just know that maybe 80 to 90% of Star Wars Battlefront 1 is in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Also, if it isn't obvious, I'm going to forget to say classic in this review after game names. Let's just pretend that EA didn't re-release these games in 2015 and 2017 respectively. To me, these are the only Star Wars Battlefronts that you're looking for. Partially because I haven't gotten around to buying the newer games, and partially out of protest of EA's money-grubbing fingers. One or both of those things. So starting out this video, let's quickly cover my personal bias. My experience with Star Wars Battlefront starts with Battlefront 2 back on the PlayStation 2 when I picked it up in high school and played the heck out of it on my bedroom wall with a projector. I really enjoyed playing a first-person shooter with a Star Wars skin on it. Once I got the chance to get Star Wars Battlefront 2 on Steam, I jumped at the chance and launched myself back into it. All this to say, I didn't first play the first Battlefront game, so my perspective is that of someone who has played the sequel and is working backwards. Which, let's be real, that's pretty typical for me, and it's typical for lots of people. How many of you have played The Witcher 3, but never played The Witcher 2 or 1? I've played the second, but not the first Witcher game yet. But I digress. Someone who first played Star Wars Battlefront 1 might have real reasons to prefer it over Star Wars Battlefront 2, but I am not that person making that argument. I say, both are good, but I prefer the sequel. The story for Star Wars Battlefront is told from the perspective of the films. There are two campaigns, the Clone Wars campaign and the Galactic Civil War campaign. The weird part about the campaigns is you start as a member of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, also known as the CIS, then switch over to being a clone trooper fighting for the Republic midway through the campaign. Or for the Galactic Civil War campaign, you start as the Empire, then switch over to the Rebel Alliance midway through. I think it's just a weird way to tell a story. But I guess nearly everyone playing the game is familiar with the movies, so it doesn't really matter. This is where I add the token, I preferred the sequel, where they told a narrative from the perspective of the clones from the beginning of the Clone Wars to the rise of the Empire. I would have just preferred to pick a side and stick with it for the campaign. It's also worth noting that Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, wasn't released until 2005. So this game was released a year before anyone knew how the prequels were going to conclude. So that undoubtedly played a part in the storytelling, or lack thereof. For single player, your options are thus: either of the two campaigns, Galactic Conquest, or Instant Action where you queue up your favorite levels and play them. You could also jump online and play with friends by hosting your own server or joining a server. I didn't really see anyone online when I first played, however there are still people playing from time to time, and I'm guessing you could always join a community where people get together and play Star Wars Battlefront 1. Again, just saying, there's more people playing Star Wars Battlefront 2. I've always seen servers up over the past however many years since GameSpy shut down and then Disney revived the servers. That being said, I'm sure you can find communities to still play this game with, but you might need to do a little bit of searching. Regarding controls, you have all your normal controls for a first-person or third-person shooter. For keyboard users, WASD to move, spacebar to jump, roll when you jump and strafe, control for crouching, plus the key mechanical difference, going prone. You cannot go prone in Star Wars Battlefront 2, but I almost never go prone in Star Wars Battlefront because Star Wars Battlefront complements a more mobile playstyle. Maybe sniper battles would be a situation where you would go prone, but remember, I played by myself against bots. You can play in first-person mode, which I personally enjoy, but strategically speaking, you can see more in third-person view, and so it's probably the playstyle you should prefer if you're being optimal. That being said, I don't play optimally. I play Star Wars Battlefront for fun, so I play in first-person view normally. But I've recorded footage in both views for your viewing pleasure. Regardless of which game mode you play, the victory condition is achieved in two different ways. Capturing all of the control points and thereby preventing your enemy from respawning, or killing all of your enemies and they run out of reinforcements. You'll probably need a little of both for victory. I propose to you this scenario. There are 5 control points, you hold 2, and your enemy holds 2. If you get the third neutral control point, you'll have more bases, and your enemy will slowly lose reinforcements. They could overcome this by slaughtering you faster, but if you control another control point, and then hold 4 out of 5 control points, they'll rapidly lose reinforcements. Most of my games are won by holding 1 extra base and then just camping. The frustrating part about control points is, much like in big online competitive games, control point capturing is a thankless occupation. You just don't feel as accomplished as going on a rampage killing spree. But control points is really how you win the game. There is one exception. Sometimes there are other objectives, like destroying a shield generator or destroying the escaping Trade Federation ships, but even on those levels, you still win by the same basic conditions. Hold more control points and kill faster than your enemy. Before we wrap up this review, let me give you a gripe I have for both Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. This isn't just unique to this Battlefront. I just want you all to share in my suffering and frustration. Some levels are just stacked against you, meaning it doesn't matter how well you do, you can't win. I've had some amazing games where I have destroyed the AI and lost because my team is a group of bumbling idiots running into enemy fire with their fingers up their nose or something. I don't even know what they're doing sometimes. Sometimes I really think I shoot an enemy and there's a traitor on my team gunning down our own troops. I don't know what else could be going on. The takeaway for me is this. I have a lot of reasons to be grateful for Star Wars Battlefront's success. It laid the groundwork and provided a huge chunk of maps brought into Star Wars Battlefront 2. Conceptually, I thought I would have liked to go prone in Star Wars Battlefront 2 when a friend told me about it. But in first-person mode, I found it very jarring when I would basically get stunned as my character would lay down. I got killed a number of times when accidentally hitting the prone key while running through the field. But that being said, I really enjoyed playing Star Wars Battlefront Classic. To reiterate my suggestion at the start of this review, if this is your childhood game, go ahead and pick it up. I also read at least one Steam review saying that this individual preferred Star Wars Battlefront 1. So there are some people who actually prefer this over the sequel, and that's perfectly fine. But for me though, I'll see you on Star Wars Battlefront 2. My name is Atratzu, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.
Victory is imminent. Incoming.